So I recently had a service call where I lost about $6,000 or $7,000 on this service call. So what we had was a meter bank with a 200 amp service. And from this meter bank, we needed to run conduit overhead to go feed a sub where the wire got damaged. It was 480, three phase. We had to pipe overhead, pull new wire, and make up these wires for our sub panel. And I lost about $7,000 on that job. Now, the first mistake that I made was basically underbidding the project. I did not account for a scissor lift. That's one thing I didn't account for. And that scissor lift cost me $2,000. And we needed this scissor lift to get the material onto the roof. So I didn't account for that scissor lift. Also, I did not account for neutral wires, 300 feet of copper that I didn't account for. It was actually about 400 feet. And, just for this one wire cost $2,000. So I didn't put that in my bid because it was a neutral, just completely forgot I needed to have a neutral for this system. So that's $2,000 that I lost right there. And it was just, I missed this part of the scope is because at this project, we were not allowed to take pictures of anything. And typically when I bid work, I always take plenty of pictures. I always, try to document everything. But since we were, it was for like a rocket factory, it did not allow us to take pictures. And I did not take as thorough notes that I should have taken. So it's a part of the scoop that I missed, which caused me to lose, $4,000 off the bat. And then another thing is when I went to the project, to do the project, they wanted the work done in a certain amount of time. It was like an emergency job. It's because they had the sub panel being ran off a generator, and they were getting charged daily for the use of this generator. And so they wanted to get the temp power removed as soon as possible and the permanent power back in place. And so I did not communicate the correct time frame. I thought it was only going to take us roughly 4 days. And although we didn't go over too many hours, we did go over on time. The customer was not happy and they basically kicked us off the job. We were 90% done with the job. We had the wires, generator disconnected, had the sub panel landed, wires inside the sub panel landed, and we had the wires, the feeders going back into the meter bank. The last thing that we needed to do was actually laying these inside of the meter bank. But since we didn't go over on time, the customer was extremely unhappy because I did not communicate clearly the exact amount of time that it was going to take to do this work. So we piped everything overhead. We had all the wires in, had the generator disconnected, had the feeders in, going over on the time to finish the project. We went over on the time about 5 hours, and the customer was just not happy at all. We made an agreement to go back out the next day so we could finish doing this work, but the agreement was voided due to the customer's dissatisfaction because we went over on time. Well, we were moving, trying to get it done, had 90% of the job done, but he just wasn't happy. Take good, thorough notes, because what you don't want to do is forget to add a wire, which could potentially cost you $2,000, or forget to add a scissor lift, which can cost you $2,000. Now, also, you gotta be very clear on your time frame. If it's gonna take you 5 hours over, or you think it's gonna take you an extra day, just let the customer know that. Don't say, oh, it's gonna be 2 more hours, and it turns into 4 or 5 hours, because it just frustrates people, and that you may not get a chance to finish your job. So by us not being able to finish that job, I was not able to collect the final payment. And I was already in the hole $4,000. Plus I had 2 guys working with me at the time. We spent the week out there. So $4,000 plus their wages came out to about $3,500 because I did not collect the final payment because I did not finish my end of the agreement. So you got to just be very clear when you're bidding this work, give a very clear time frames, and just, if you feel the pressure or you feel like you're getting pushed, take a breather, take a step back, explain to the owner or the client what's going on, and just communicate very clearly so you don't lose money the way I did. And the person that actually told us to leave the project overstepped their boundaries. They weren't the owner of the building and they weren't the one that was cutting the check. The owner of the building was very unhappy when I told them that the worker threw us off the job. And she said, well, he overstepped his bounds and she wanted us to get back out there and finish off the work. I refused to go back out there just because of the environment and the way that the worker was acting. Rather than losing money, I probably could have at least broke even on this one. I would have spent a full week out there myself, but at least I would have been able to break even and not lose $6,000 or $7,000. So in a situation like this in the future, rather than me saying no, or if you ever come across something like this, to where someone tries to throw you off a job and they're not, they don't have the authority to do that, you can say, yeah, I'll go back out there, but you got to charge a remobilization fee. Also, jack up the price on them. So that way, you may be able to recoup some of the money that you lost, kind of like I did. And then you can also make some contingencies in there saying like, hey man, this guy was a hostile, made the work environment hostile. We'll come back out to finish up the project, but he can't be there. And if you do this, this at least allows you to recoup the money that you may end up losing. And then, again, you can finish your work, because if you start some work, of course, you want to be the one to finish the work.